Hey guys, this is Eric from GameShampoo.com, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about Nintendo because they just did their Nintendo Direct conference late last night, early this morning. It's posted up on YouTube, but I'm going to give a little bit of a recap for it because I'm really excited. Probably can't tell because I'm also kind of sleep deprived right now. But two, they announced some really significant stuff and stuff that Warren's talking about. So, first, to me, would probably be the announcement of Zelda Wind Waker, but HD. An HD re-release of the original GameCube game is coming to the Wii U. In full HD, making full use of the gamepad, and that's a little ways off right now. But for me, that was, if not my favorite GameCube game, one of my favorite GameCube games, and so just the fact that that's being resurrected in HD, that's exciting enough. It looks gorgeous. There's a screenshot posted online that's taken from the Nintendo Direct conference, and just the clarity of the color and the precision of those lines in that game, because it does have a really cel shaded style. Just looks beautiful. So wow, it looks really good. And a new Zelda game is also said to be in works for the console, but nobody really knows what it is. Let's see, what other new games are announced? The new Yoshi's game is coming out from the developer of Kirby Epic Yarn, which was one of my favorite Wii games, and it has that same kind of really unique style that made that game so distinctive. It really looks like a sequel to Yoshi's Story. I don't know if it's going to be called Yoshi's Story 2 straight up, but it has that same kind of stitched kind of style where everything looks like a sort of a stuffed animal against kind of a fabric backdrop. Looks really cool. Obviously graphics have progressed a really long way since the Nintendo 64, even in the kind of limited scope of what Nintendo does. And so, just seeing that same style but recreated in such a much better fidelity is really, really cool. And nobody knows when that game is coming out yet. It's probably a long way off from release since they're just announcing it now. You'd think if they could have, they really would have been talking about that a little bit earlier. But traditionally the Yoshi games are pretty good. Yoshi's Island, one of the best platformers ever made. So they come out and say Yoshi's Island 2 was pretty good too. Not quite what Yoshi's Island 1 was, but still a totally fantastic game. While we're talking Nintendo exclusives, cannot go without mentioning Fire Emblem, especially since the 3DS game is coming out in a week, a little over a week and a half. So let's talk the new Fire Emblem announcement. This is the big announcement for me, although there were really a couple of really big announcements in that show. Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem. This is developed by Atlas and published by Nintendo, and it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's a mashing together of Shin Megami Tensei games and the Fire Emblem games, and that's it. I'm done. Put that video game out. Video games are done. Those are probably my favorite RPGs right there. They're just being mashed together, and I want it. It's definitely far out from release. They showed a trailer, but it's nothing but concept art. But I don't care. Just give me that game. I want it now. It's Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem. There's no way in my mind that can possibly go wrong. I want it now. Just give it to me. Damn it. Looks so good. It doesn't even look so good. They barely even showed anything of it, but in my head it looks so good. But speaking of looks so good, they announced what is a potential sequel to Xenoblade Chronicles, or Xenoblade Chronicles. I'm gonna say Xenoblade Chronicles. It's coming from Monolith Soft, and right now it's just called X. So, what it brings to mind naturally is Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Could also potentially be like a Xenogears sequel. But they showed a lot of gameplay of it, and it looks a lot like Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii. So I'm gonna go ahead and make the natural assumption. And showed off a dude running along a beachside in HD with a big sword strapped to his back. Pretty standard JRPG fare so far. And they showed him fighting a bunch of monsters, first using the sword, then using a gun to kind of lock on to different points of the beasts and fight them. And like I said, it all looked very reminiscent of something that would be in Xenoblade Chronicles. And then dude jumps in a giant mech suit and just messes up some giant, like, screen-filling, huge, like, God of War scale creatures. Just like chopping them up with this mech suit. It's pretty cool. Pretty excited about that, I'm not gonna lie. So that's another big thing that's coming to the Wii U. And Xenoblade, Xenogears, I'm gonna say it's Xenoblade 2. But we'll see. And we also got few smaller things. A trailer for the wonderful 101 from Platinum Games came out, and still looks crazy. Still looks totally friggin' nuts. There's for those of you unfamiliar with the game, you basically look at it from a sort of isometric perspective, and you have 101 heroes that you can choose from, and they get together Pikmin style almost, and you control them as a group, and you can combine them into shapes like a giant sword or like a giant gun or something like that, and use them to fight much larger enemies. So it kind of has that weird Pikmin thing of like isometric group control kind of mechanics going on, where you want to very much sort of wrangle all of these characters under your control and then get them to fight these much bigger enemies. But it looks much, much more like an action game. Super fast-paced, bright colors, really high frame rate. It's really crazy looking game. So that looks interesting. So definitely check that out if you have the time. It's only like a minute-long trailer. Talked about the Miiverse a little bit, but nothing revelatory really. The Miiverse is basically these set of forums that are inherent to every individual release that comes out on the Wii U, going so far as to have a Miiverse for the different channels and apps that are on there. Like there's a Netflix one where people are just constantly drawing like Breaking Bad characters and like Adventure Time characters saying bring Adventure Time to Netflix. That's like 90% of what is in that channel last time I looked at it. They've got YouTube channels, which is like super weird because you can't link to a YouTube video in the comments, so it's like a lot of people like, anybody seen the video with the cat? Like, yeah, I saw that. Like, what? But we talked a little bit about the Miiverse and kind of how they envision that going over the next year, and how they want to kind of see that grow and see that become a sort of hub for people who are really passionate about those individual games or those individual apps, and I think they're well on their way to doing that. And talked about Pikmin 3 in the briefest of senses. It's still coming along, and still on track for a 2013 release, which is exciting. It's been way too long since a proper Pikmin game. And then that was pretty much the press conference from Nintendo. They didn't talk about anything from 3DS. They just talked Wii U stuff, but I think between the HD re-release of Wind Waker, the announcement of Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem, and then the footage of what I'm going to go ahead and call Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I don't think I mentioned the Bayonetta 2 trailer. They didn't show any actual gameplay in the trailer, so it's not like a huge deal. But you can tell the game is up and running. They showed it kind of off screen, like people gathering around a television playing it. So it just seemed like it was basically there to confirm that it's progressing and it still exists. And I think between all those things, the future of Nintendo and the Wii U suddenly looking really promising. And that's not necessarily something that I anticipated, maybe. Zombie U is the only Wii U exclusive title right now that I would recommend to anybody. Obviously old enough to play it and interested in the kind of horror themes that game excels at. But Nintendo Land, it's good as a pack-in, but no, don't pay $60 for that. Come on. And New Super Mario Brothers, you definitely don't pay $60 for that. I did not have the highest of expectations for that game, and even so, I was still disappointed playing it just by how cookie cutter and generic Mario that game was. It was like they made in their sleep. Between that and New Super Mario Bros. 2 on the 3DS, which was, kind of similar, but a little more. There was a little more life in it than there was in New Super Mario Bros. U. And then Mario Kart 7 on the 3DS, which was just, hey, we made some Mario Kart. That's cool, right? Between all that stuff, I was really just kind of indifferent to anything that Nintendo was doing, and so I think this Nintendo Direct conference that they had last night really shows a willingness to work with third parties in terms of Shin Megami Tensei crossing over with Fire Emblem, and Nintendo picking up Bayonetta 2 from Sega when they were going to drop it, and really working with Platinum to kind of see that through to completion. And it's showing a commitment to kind of first and second party stuff with the Project X footage, which hopefully we don't have to do a year-long petition to get that to the United States this time. A sort of almost kind of a fresh take on some of these platforming adventures that we'd kind of forgotten about, like with the new Yoshi announcement. And they're really showing kind of an awareness or an understanding of what people liked best about them as a company, I think, by talking up this Wind Waker HD remake. Because I know a lot of people whose favorite Nintendo game is Wind Waker, and I think it's really promising in a way that a lot of Nintendo stuff over the last year and a half, maybe even 2 years, really hasn't been at all. And so it's really exciting to see them kind of making that shift a little bit. And that's all the Nintendo news that has been going down. And you can always check out GameShampoo.com/magazine for all the trailers that I've been talking about. We've got Bayonetta 2, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem, all that good stuff up there. So head over there if you want to see more, see that stuff in more detail, and thanks for watching.